Let's be honest, not every rider is someone you'd want to share the road with. Some treat motorcycling like a video game, others like a stage, and a few, well, they just make us all look bad. You've probably seen them, maybe even ridden with them. And if not, there's a chance you are one. This video isn't about gear or riding styles. It's about the personalities that ruin the ride for everyone else. These are the 11 worst types of motorcycle riders. And if any of these sound a little too familiar, it might be time for a reality check. The Instagram rider who doesn't actually ride. You pull into a parking lot after a long ride. Helmet sweaty, bugs all over your visor, road dust covering your jacket. And there he is, not a bug in sight, bike spotless, phone on a tripod, and his riding jacket half-zipped, like he's in a photo shoot for a brand he's never actually worked with. This is the Instagram rider. He's all image and no mileage. In 2025, it's more common than ever. Social media's motorcycle subculture is booming. Influencers post daily with perfectly edited clips, staged ride shots, and gear hauls. But scroll through their feed long enough, and you'll notice a pattern. There's almost no real riding. Just poses, slow cruises to scenic spots, and tons of filters. He's got an expensive helmet with not a scratch on it, pristine boots, and a GoPro that's never seen rain. Now look, there's nothing wrong with sharing your passion online. Everyone loves a good photo. But when riding becomes just a backdrop for self-promotion, something gets lost. This guy gives advice he hasn't earned, reviews gear he barely uses, and acts like a veteran without putting in the seat time. Worst of all, new riders might actually think this is what riding is all about. But let's be honest, motorcycles aren't meant to sit still for the camera. They're built for miles, sweat, and sometimes a little road rash. A true rider isn't worried about their aesthetic. They're chasing that next curve, that perfect sunset, that feeling you can't capture in a filter. Real riders ride. Others, they just pretend. The rider who always has a better story. You're at a rest stop, swapping stories with fellow riders. Someone talks about nearly missing a deer on a mountain curve. Another recalls their first time hitting 100 miles per hour. It's all in good fun, until he joins in. Suddenly your story isn't interesting anymore. Why? Because he's done it bigger, faster, and more dramatically. This is the one-upper. The guy who can't just relate, he has to outdo. In 2025, where forums and group rides are thriving again post-COVID, this personality shows up everywhere, online and in person. Share a close call? He survived a crash at 140 miles per hour, with no gear. You mention a road trip? He did the same route, but in reverse, at night, during a storm. Somehow, he's always the hero. And no matter what you say, he'll pivot the spotlight right back to himself. Here's the thing, riding is personal. It's not a contest. When riders tell stories, it's about connection, laughing, learning, or just remembering why we ride in the first place. But when someone always needs to be the center of attention, it kills the vibe. People stop sharing. The fun disappears. The irony, if his stories were really that impressive, he wouldn't need to exaggerate. And if he had that much experience, he'd probably spend more time listening than bragging. Motorcycling doesn't require a highlight reel. Just respect for the journey and the people taking it with you. The group ride racer who turns every cruise into a competition. You're out with a group, ready for a chill ride. Nice weather, scenic route, nothing too wild. But before you've even settled into the rhythm, someone shoots past like he's on a MotoGP grid. He cuts corners, passes in blind turns, and rides like there's a trophy at the next gas stop. This is the group ride racer, and he's the reason group rides sometimes feel like survival games. In 2025, group rides have become more organized, with apps that map out routes and signal etiquette guides, but it still doesn't stop this guy. He claims to be part of the ride, but he clearly thinks he's above it. He's weaving through traffic, pushing his limits on public roads, and forcing everyone else to ride faster than they're comfortable with just to avoid getting left behind. What's worse, when you call him out, he shrugs it off. "I'm just riding my ride," he'll say. But his ride affects everyone. One bad pass, and the whole group could go down. And in 2025, when camera footage can go viral in seconds, one reckless move from him can give all riders a bad reputation. If you want to race, there are tracks. If you want to ride with people, ride with them, not ahead of them. Being fast isn't impressive if it's unsafe. A smooth, respectful rider is remembered a lot longer than the guy who blasted past and disappeared. The loud Rev Bomber who just wants attention. You're at a stoplight, talking with a buddy Or maybe sipping a coffee outside a cafe when someone dumps their throttle for no reason. People jump, kids cover their ears, and the peaceful vibe is shattered. That guy? He's the Rev Bomber, and he's not here to ride. He's here to perform. In 2025, even with more sound ordinances popping up around popular riding spots, this rider still hasn't gotten the message. He'll rev his bike in parking lots, near schools, or late at night in quiet neighborhoods, and then act surprised when someone glares or complains. He thinks loud equals cool, but all it really does is create bad blood and get cops called on everyone else. Let's be honest. Motorcycle exhaust can sound amazing when it's doing real work, pulling through gears on a mountain road or that perfect burble on downshift. But bouncing off the limiter while parked at a gas station? That's not music. That's noise pollution. And often, the bikes making all that noise aren't even tuned well. They're just obnoxiously loud because the rider thinks it covers up lack of skill or personality. The problem? Every time someone like this acts out, all motorcyclists get labeled as inconsiderate hooligans. And guess who ends up dealing with stricter noise laws, more patrols, and closed riding areas? Yep, the rest of us. Real riders don't need to shout for attention. The way they ride speaks louder than any exhaust ever could. The rider who treats their passenger like luggage. You've seen it, or maybe you felt it. A rider takes off with someone on the back, launching like they're drag racing, slamming on the brakes, leaning hard into turns with no warning. Meanwhile, the passenger is just trying to hold on, wide-eyed and terrified. This is the rider who forgets they've got a human being behind them. And it's one of the worst kinds out there. In 2025, more people are getting introduced to motorcycling as passengers first. It's how a lot of new riders get hooked. But nothing kills that excitement faster than a reckless pilot. You can spot these riders a mile away. They don't brief their passenger, they don't ride smoothly, and they sure don't check in to ask, "You good back there?" The truth is, riding 2-up isn't just a style choice, it's a responsibility. The dynamics of your bike change. Braking distances get longer, cornering balance shifts, and comfort becomes a shared experience. If your passenger is stiff, off balance, or panicking, you're doing it wrong. Even worse, a lot of passengers won't speak up. They'll grip tighter and say, "I'm fine," even though their whole body is screaming otherwise. They're not enjoying the ride. They're just surviving it, and that's not okay. A good rider adjusts. They take it slow, communicate, and make the ride enjoyable. Because if someone trusts you enough to sit on the back of a motorcycle, the least you can do is treat them like they matter, not like extra cargo. To the Brand Snob, who judges your logo, not your ride. You roll up to a bike meet or local cafe, park your ride, and before your kickstand even hits the pavement, someone's already sizing up your tank badge. If it's not a Harley, a Ducati, or some boutique Euro bike, they've written you off. This is the Brand Snob, the rider who thinks your bike's logo is more important than how you ride it. In 2025, the market's more diverse than ever. We've got affordable middleweights, Indian and Chinese manufacturers making serious moves, and electric bikes finally carving out space on the street. But for the Brand Snob, none of that matters. If you're not on what they ride, you're somehow beneath them. They'll throw shade at Japanese bikes for being too basic, mock Royal Enfields as cheap hipster bait, and act like scooters don't even belong in the same parking lot. But here's the twist. Many of these riders don't even understand their own bikes. They bought into a look, not the lifestyle. It's image over experience. Riding has never been about brands. It's about the road, the feeling, the freedom. Your 250cc commuter might have seen more miles than their polished garage queen. And your no-name helmet, it's protected you through every season. At the end of the day, no logo can define a rider's heart. Ride what works for you. What matters is your love for the road, not the badge on your tank. The rider who thinks they're too cool to wave. You're out on the road, the weather's perfect, and you spot another rider headed your way. Naturally, you give the classic biker wave, but instead of returning it, they just stare past you. No nod, no hand, not even a head tilt. This is the too cool to wave rider, and they're killing the very spirit that makes riding special. By 2025, most of us know that waving isn't mandatory, but it's symbolic. It's that subtle sign of respect between two people who get it, who understand what it's like to balance on two wheels, brave traffic, and chase that freedom. It doesn't matter if you ride a sport bike, a cruiser, or an electric. That wave says, you're part of this. But these riders, They act like acknowledgement makes them look weak. They're too cool for community. Ironically, these are often the same people who go on and on about biker brotherhood online, but can't be bothered to lift a finger when you pass them in real life. Now, there are always moments when a rider might be mid-turn, shifting gears, or focusing hard on the road, and that's fine. But you can always tell the difference between someone focused and someone just trying to look superior. A wave costs nothing, but it carries weight. It tells other riders they're not alone. So if you're riding and see someone flash that two-finger salute, don't be the one who acts like it's beneath you. Be part of the ride, not apart from it. The rider who brags about almost dying. You know the type. Every story starts with, "I almost wiped out," or "I was doing 120 through a blind curve," and this is the close call bragger. The rider who treats near-death experiences like trophies, as if barely surviving something stupid is the same as riding with skill. In 2025, with helmet cams and social media clips flooding the internet, this kind of rider has found a whole new audience. They post crash footage like it's a highlight reel. They wear "Survivor" like a badge of honor. But here's the truth. Close calls aren't something to celebrate. They're warnings. And the riders who keep collecting them are playing roulette with everyone's safety. When you ride long enough, you'll have stories. Yes, even scary ones. But the best riders learn from them. They adapt. They get smoother, smarter, more cautious. But the bragger? He never changes. He turns bad habits into folklore and calls recklessness experience. And worse, he influences new riders who think that's what motorcycling is about. Flirting with disaster to prove you're real. But that's nonsense. True skill is measured by control, not chaos. Staying alive isn't about how many times you cheated death. It's about how many smart decisions you made to avoid it. If you keep almost dying on a motorcycle, maybe you're not good at riding. You're just lucky, and luck runs out. The know-it-all who never stops talking. You've just parked your bike after a great ride, maybe grabbing a coffee or chatting with your group, and then he walks over, helmet in hand, smug look on his face, and before you even say hi, he's already critiquing your tire pressure, your riding posture, or why your bike is the wrong version. Yep, it's the know-it-all, and he's about to turn your relaxing moment into a lecture. In 2025, with forums, YouTube channels, and rider blogs everywhere, there's more information than ever, which is great. But some riders take that info and turn it into a personality. They're constantly quoting reviews, referencing obscure tech specs, and pretending their Google searches equal track experience. And they love telling you what you're doing wrong. It's not about helping, it's about superiority. He's not offering advice, he's auditioning as the smartest guy in the parking lot. He'll knock your gear, mock your oil choice, and act like he's been racing for decades, even though he probably rides 20 miles a week and never leaves the city limits. The thing is, experienced riders do share tips, but they do it with humility. They ask questions. They listen. The know-it-all, though? He's not there to learn or connect. He's there to dominate the conversation. And eventually, people stop listening. He makes meetups awkward, kills the vibe of group rides, and worst of all, discourages newer riders who just want to enjoy the journey. Wisdom doesn't shout. It rides. The gas station. Squatter who acts like it's his living room. You roll up to a crowded gas station on a weekend ride, low on fuel. Every pump is full, but one rider's already done filling up and just won't move. He's leaned back on his bike, sipping a drink, scrolling his phone, talking to friends, acting like the station is his personal hangout spot. This is the gas pump hog, and he might be the most low-key annoying rider of them all. In 2025, with bike nights and weekend meetups becoming more popular again, gas stations have unofficially become the new clubhouse. And that's fine. Hang out, meet friends, swap stories. But first, move your bike. That's basic rider etiquette. And yet this guy acts like common courtesy doesn't apply to him. He'll take selfies next to the pump, polish his gas cap, or start holding court with a group, totally oblivious to the 3 riders behind him waiting in line. Or worse, he knows you're waiting, but still takes his sweet time. Because in his world, riding is about looking like a rider, not being a considerate one. Here's the truth. Nobody's stopping you from hanging out. Just pull forward, park to the side, and free up the space. It keeps traffic flowing, keeps tempers down, and keeps the community looking good. The pump isn't a lounge chair. If your tank's full, move it. The lawless rider who thinks rules don't apply. Every group has one. The rider who blasts through red lights, tears down residential streets like it's a racetrack, and weaves through traffic like the laws of physics don't apply. He treats speed limits as personal insults and double yellow lines as suggestions. This is the rule breaker, and he's more than just annoying. He's dangerous. In 2025, with more dash cams on the road and AI-assisted traffic enforcement becoming the norm, this rider stands out. And not in a good way. He thinks he's the rebel, the outlaw. But in reality, he's just reckless. And every time he gets caught, or worse, crashes, he acts like the victim. He'll blame traffic, pedestrians, the weather, even his own motorcycle, anyone but himself. What makes him the worst kind of rider? He doesn't just put himself at risk, he drags down the entire riding community. His stunts show up on social media and the evening news, making motorcycles look like a menace. Insurance premiums go up, police crack down harder, and public support for bikers shrinks, all because he wanted to feel cool for 5 seconds. And for newer riders watching him, it sends the worst possible message, that being reckless is part of the culture. But it's not. Riding is about skill, not chaos. Freedom doesn't mean ignoring responsibility. The road is not a playground. It's shared, and every decision affects more than just you. Real rebels ride with respect. The rest? They're just hazards in leather jackets. At the end of the day, motorcycles don't just move people. They represent freedom, passion, and community. But every time someone rides with ego instead of respect, they chip away at what makes this culture great. Whether it's the loud Rev Bomber, the know-it-all expert, or the guy racing through stoplights like it's a video game, they're not just being obnoxious. They're giving all of us a bad name. The good news? You don't have to ride like them. Be the rider who waves, who listens, who leads by example without needing to prove anything. Call out the foolishness when you see it. And most of all, show the world that motorcycling still means something. More than image, more than noise, more than bragging rights. If you've ever ridden with one of these people, or been one, it's not too late to change. Because the best riders aren't the fastest or the flashiest. They're the ones who ride with purpose, pride, and just enough humility to make the next generation feel welcome.